Hello everyone, we welcome you all here in the event of Google Developers Group Chandigarh. So today we are here with our new session, and
Hello everyone.
our speaker is Aryan Irani. He is Google developer experts in Google Workspace. So today he will be going to speak on generative AI and PaLM. So we welcome you, Aryan, here, and hope so. This event is going to be very fruitful for all the audience. And if there will be any questions in mid of the event, or if you want to ask any question to the speaker, you just have to write your questions in the comment box, and the speaker is going to take all the questions after the session. So yeah, so over to Aryan.
Mute. Oh, I'm on mute. I'm so sorry. Okay, welcome everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you are from. My name is Aryan Irani, and I'm going to be taking on this session today. And this session is just given a good title called Introduction to Generative AI. So we'll just be understanding what generative AI is, what we can do with it, and just explore things together. So I'll just share my screen and we'll just get started quick. All right. I guess you can see my screen. So this session is going to be called Introduction to Generative AI, and we'll be understanding Bard, Palm API, Make a Suite, and different features that Google has released previously. So we'll be talking about LLMs that are large language models, Palm 2, Bard, and the Palm API. So about me, just before we get into the session, a short introduction about me. I'm a student. I'm a programmer. Uh, I'm a Google developer expert for Workspace. I'm a technical writer, a video creator, and even a public speaker. So let's just understand the agenda for today. So we'll be starting out by understanding what is generative AI. After that, we'll be understanding what are LLMs, what are large language models, followed by looking at what Google Bard is, then having a short glimpse of what Maker Suite is, and then looking at the Palm API. And I think every session is a little empty or is a little left out without an actual demo of putting all the things that we have learned together into some real life projects. So we'll be taking a look at those demos too. Okay. Okay, so I think my screen is visible now. I can think yes, it's visible. All right, so we'll get started. So we'll be understanding what is generative AI. Basically, a simple Google search on the internet will tell you that generative AI is an artificial intelligence that is basically capable of generating text, images, or other form of medias, and even using generative models. So generative AI refers to the development of machines capable of creating original content. These applications are endless. Some might include music composition, art generation, and even text creation. And generative AI has the potential to revolutionize various industries. Even in my daily life as a student, while I'm pursuing my bachelor's, I use Gen AI in studying or even preparing for exams or building projects and different things. It involves training models to understand patterns and even generate new data for you. So generative AI basically learns the patterns and structures of their input training data and then generates new data that has similar characteristics. So now that we have put around the word as what is generative AI, why don't we get a little basic understanding of what or how basically generative AI works? So basically, it works by learning from a large data set. Now, this data set can be anything. It can either be text, it can be images, it can even be audios, and even visual data sets. It learns from the patterns and relationships. Now, basically, once the model has learned these patterns, it can then be used to generate new content that is similar to the content that we had given to it in the original data set while it was learning. So it learns between patterns and relationships as how people react to it or what kind of data does it basically understand. And in the end, it can be used to generate new content. So whenever you go to Google Bard or even go to ChatGPT and say, generate me a paragraph about a magic backpack, for an example. So it already has learned something about magic or the backpack That's when it can create new content to you, but at the same time having similar characteristics to the content that was in the data set. Now, let's understand what are large language models. So LLM basically is a large language model, and these are AI systems capable of understanding and generating human-like language. They utilize massive amounts of data set and complex machine learning algorithms. These applications could include chatbots, content generation, and more. So basically, large language models are basically built on general knowledge and are trained on a large corpus of text from different sources. Now, how do LLMs learn? Now, let's take an example for that, right? So, let's take an example. You just got a new dog at your place, and you are going to be teaching the dog to sit, to talk, to do different things. So that's how an LLM actually learns. It learns by association, trial and error, and imitation. So when you tell a dog to sit, after a while, it is going to be understanding that okay, I have to sit whenever the owner tells me to sit. So that is how basically LLMs learn. More the exposure to new data, the more they learn. The more you teach the dog to sit, to stand, to maybe do a little circles or maybe do a jump or something, the more they learn. And they imitate the text that they are given in the prompt. Now, when you're writing to Bard, like say, like for the same example that we used, that was generate a story about Aryan Irani, for an example. So it is going to be taking the texts that have been in my prompt, and then it's going to be generating new data. And as it learns, as it gets better, it even generates more human-like text. Now, there are various applications of LLMs. One can be virtual assistants. Now, virtual assistants personally is a very cool application of LLMs, and even I use one myself. I have a Google Home or even an Alexa that I use to control the. Control can be used for sorry, Alexa, stop. Oh, that was the virtual assistant actually acting in my place. So that is one very cool application of LLMs. The next one could be chatbots. You can see one screenshot that is there. This is the Snapchat chatbot that has been released. So I can literally have conversations with it, with the chatbot while I'm doing. The next one is going to be generative text. Now, generative text is just basically your Google Bard and different things, and then personalization and recommendations. Now, where does this come? Now, whenever you watch Netflix, it tells you, oh, we recommend this movie to you, or since you like thriller, you might like this film, or you might like this web series. So that is how they learn. They learn what you like, they learn what you watch, and then they give you personalized recommendations. Now, now that we talk about Gen AI and LLMs, what is Google Bard? So Google Bard has been trained is just another LLM. It is a LLM developed by Google, which is powered by the Palm 2. It can generate text, it can generate poetry, it can generate images, and much more. Its potential applications include creative writing, support, and personalized content generation. And Google Bard has once again been trained on a vast amount of data and has impressive language generation abilities. So basically, it is powered by Palm 2, which is Google's most advanced large language model. It can answer your questions in an informative way. It can follow your instructions and complete what you have in your mind, and it can generate different forms of data. Now, we looked at two important things here. One was an LLM and one is generative AI. So are they same? Are they different? What is the difference or what are the similarities between them? So generative AI basically refers to AI systems that can generate content such as text, images, audios, and more. That is often creative, original, and coherent. On the other hand, LLM refers to a particular class of Gen AI models. It specifies it is a particular class of Gen AI models. On the other hand, Gen AI encompasses a wide range of models and different techniques, including large language models like GPT that you have and other generative AI models. And these are applied in various domains. On the other hand, LLM is known for their ability to generate, translate, and even answer questions. The applications of Gen AI are endless. They can be put into natural language detection, data synthesis, artistic creation, and more. We looked at the applications of LLM that were chatbots, sentiment analysis, and various other things that LLMs can be applied in. Now, this is one screenshot of my Google Bard that I have used here. If you want to access Google Bard, you can just go to the link that I have put up here. So this will take you to the LLM that is Google Bard that is built on Palm 2. Now, what is Palm 2? Palm 2 is just another LLM that is developed by Google AI. It is once again trained on large amounts of data, web pages, source code, and even more. Palm 2 is specialized in certain tasks such as creating code or even reasoning. It can be once again used for building chatbots, machine translation, language translation, research education, and more. Now we're going to be doing all of these applications in the demo where we'll understand how they can do language translation, how they can generate data, and how they can even play with data. Now, when I talk about the demo, that's where we come into Palm API. So Palm API is a very key component of Google Maker Suite. It allows developers like me and you to integrate the functionalities of Palm 2 into their applications. So developers can leverage Palm API to enhance the user experience of their products. Why not make your product more interesting by including Gen AI and different LLMs into your product? It makes it more interesting and more easy for the users to do. And Palm API provides a huge range of powerful features and capabilities for developers. Now, Maker Suite. Maker Suite is just that it just contains Palm API. So it is a collection of tools that allows users to access the power of Palm API. Its most important tools are text prompt, data prompt, and chat prompt. And you can have the ability to tune models by changing their temperature. Temperature refers to basically how accurate do you want your result to be when you put a prompt into it. Now, this is one of the screenshots of Maker Suite. I think currently Maker Suite is not available for everybody, so you have to apply for the wait list. And once you get that, you'll be seeing this on your screen where you have your text prompt, your data prompts, and chat prompts. In the text prompt, you can basically interact with it. You can generate text from it. It's just like Google Bard, but it's on the back part of it where you can interact with the Palm API. You can change the temperature. You can basically tune the model and get an accurate answer. On the other hand, data prompt can be used to generate rows and columns of data. And in the end, chat prompt, you can have back and forth chatbot conversations. You can build your own chatbots here. Now, now that we have learned so much, we looked at Gen AI, we looked at large language models, we looked at Google Bard, the Palm API, and even Make a suite. Why not put everything that we have learned in the past 15-20 minutes into a live demo? The first demo is going to be talking about integrating Google Bard inside of your Google Sheets using the Palm API and a little Google App Script. Since I am a Google developer expert for Workspace, I spend a lot of my time on building things using Google App Script. So this demo is going to be focusing on that. But you can do the same in different languages. Palm API right now supports Python, it supports Java and different programming languages. Next, as we had talked in the applications, I mentioned you can use the power of Gen AI to do language conversion. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We'll be building a language converter inside of Google Sheets using Google Bard, the Palm API, and AppScript. And in the end, a Google Docs summary generator. So let's look at these demos one by one. So first off, this is the Google Sheet that I have here. This is how I have integrated Google Bard into my Google Sheet. So I'll just open up the code for you to basically just give you a short walkthrough between the code, right? So this is basically the code that I've used here to access the Palm API through Maker Suite, where we're going to be getting the API key, which we'll be looking at in the next few minutes. So this is basically JavaScript, where we are just making a simple API call to Google Bard through the Palm API, and we are telling it to basically get a prompt, and in the end, I want a response. Now let's take a look at Maker Suite. So when you go to makersuite.google.com, you will see something like this where you have your text prompt, data prompt, and chat prompt. Now, for developers like you and me, we always want to interact with the Palm API. And how are we going to do with that? We're going to be doing that using the API key. So when you go here to the dashboard, you get an option saying Get API key. So when you click on it, you can look at all the API keys that you have. And once you have it, you can create your own API keys. And for documentation and stuff, you can go to the API Quick Start Guide that gives you different programming languages and how you can use that to create or access the Palm API. So now that we have understood the code and how we have to make we have to make the copy for the API key, let's go back to the Google Sheet. Now this is very interesting. I always wanted to integrate generative AI instead of Google Sheets because sometimes I want to generate data instead of my sheets, but I have to go to Google, make a search, and then copy paste the data back, which is I think kind of very stressful for me and it's a long process. So that's where I stumbled upon Maker Suite, the Palm API, and how I could integrate all of this into my Google Sheet. So using a very simple custom function, I'm going to do Bard and I'm going to pass this prompt into this. I'm going to close the bracket and I'm going to hit on enter. And in a few seconds, you'll see it gives me an answer as who is the richest man in the world. I can do the same for what is the latest version of iOS. I can close the brackets here, I can pass the prompt, and I'll be getting a response pretty quick. Now, the last prompt is going to be this one where I'll be selecting this. Click on enter, and in a few seconds it gives me the exact number. So this is how I have integrated the power of Google Bard into my Google Sheet. So I no longer have to go to bard.google.com and access Google Bard and put in my prompt and then get some data. I can do that using the PaLM API. Now moving on to the next demo that we have, that is the Bard language converter. Now I have a lot of sentences here in different languages. One is going to be in Spanish, one is in French, and one is in Hindi, my hometown language. And the target language that I want to convert it all is into English. So we're going to be using the same function here. I'll just open up the code before we do the actual demo, and let's understand what I have done in this code. Now inside this code, I have done something similar. I have the API key here, I have the API endpoint, and I have designed a custom prompt for this one here. Now to tell you, designing the prompt for any generative AI model or whenever you are building something is very difficult. You have to actually tweak and make the prompt perfect in a way so that it gives you the correct response. So that's where prompt engineering comes into this. So after we design the prompt, we create the body. I make an API call to it using the URL fetch app. And in the end, I get an output back. So I'm going to go back to my Google Sheet and I'm going to be showing you how it's done. So I'm going to do equal to Bard. I'm going to do equal to Bard. I'm going to first put in the sentence I want to convert, followed by the origin language, and in the end, the target language. I'm going to close the brackets and I'm going to hit on enter. And it tells me it's converted this into English and it tells me how are you today. So once again, if you're collaborating with some people in a Google Sheet and you are working with them and maybe they share a different language that is not common to you or that's not your forte or that's not your first language, you can use this feature. We're going to be dragging this formula down to all of this and let's see the response that we get. This session is really fun and Google is awesome. So this is how we have integrated once again Google Bard inside of our Google Sheets to actually convert a convert a sentence from an origin language to a target language. Now, for the final demo that I have here is going to be very interesting. Since I'm still some pursuing my BTech yet, I have to submit research papers, I have to submit research projects. And during that time, I was finding it very difficult and very tiresome to actually sit and generate every document summary or any paragraph summary. So it was becoming very difficult. And when I stumbled upon Bard, I had to basically take this entire paragraph, copy paste it, then go to Bard and tell it to summarize it. Instead, I just use the PaLM API and Google Apps Script to do the same. So we're going to go to our extensions and we just walk through the code this time. So inside this, I've created a custom menu here, which allows me, when I click on this, it summarizes the selected paragraph. So I've used a custom menu here in AppScript. Then I have the API key. I have the similar endpoint that I had. I have my URL, the headers, and I have designed a prompt here. So once again, if you look at the prompt, it is a very particular and very on point prompt that we have here that tells me, please generate a short summary for the following paragraph. After that, I have my prompt. After that, the options for the API key. And after that, I just send a request to it. And in the end, here we have used the document app that interacts with the Google Doc. And we get the document, I get the body, and I paste in the summary that Google Bard has generated for me. So let's just take a look at it in action. So I'm going to select the entire paragraph here. I'm going to go to my custom menu and I'm going to click on Summarize Selected Paragraph. And here you can see within a few seconds, it has completely generated a summary from such a big paragraph to something this small. So this is how we have used Google Bard, the power of Gen AI, and a little bit of Google Apps Script that would be JavaScript to generate a perfect summary for us. So this is how we can use the powers of these tools. And this is all that I have for this session. This was a very short and quick session talking about all the applications that Google Bard has, and it will give you a short glimpse of how you can take things forward. So this was just an introduction session to you where you understand what is Gen AI, what are large language models, what is Maker Suite, what is the PaLM API, and different text prompts, data prompts, and chat prompts, and how we can use these powerful tools in very regular Google Workspace tools like Google Sheets and Google Docs to increase your productivity. This is a QR code that you could scan to get in touch with me. You can check out my YouTube links and different things. And I think we can open up for questions. So I would love to answer all of your questions. All right. So I think I'll look at the chat and I'll see what kind of questions are there. All right, the first question is, can we use the Palm API in a Flutter project? Of course, you can do that. You can use the Palm API in anything exactly. Whatever you're building, it can be used in production right now. Since I've accessed it in a Google Sheet, which is not actually connected to it. I just use the Palm API. I use a little Google App script. I think you can do the same for it. If you go to the Palm API documentation, you can see different languages that you can use to actually interact with the Palm API and how you can integrate those into your projects. So that, of course, it actually works. You can use Palm API inside your Flutter project. Is there any course for generative AI? Yes, there is a course for generative AI on Google's official, I think the Google, I forgot the link. I could share the link with you. So there they basically give you an introduction to what is generative AI, what are LLMs and something like that. But those tend towards being very complex sometimes. So I think I could share these slides with you, and I think this video will get you basically started on your Gen AI progress and how you can learn Gen AI, Palm API, Make a Suite, Palm 2, and more. Of course, a single Google Sheet can have multiple bar calls. That's what we did right now, right? I had 3 rows in my Google Sheet. I made 3 multiple calls. I even for the Google Docs summary, I can have 20 paragraphs and I can send all of those. But you have to keep in mind that whenever you send these API calls, you need to make sure the number of tokens or the number of characters or how big is your prompt. Because Google Bard and even GPT don't support that big lengths of data unless you have GPT-4 or whenever Google Bard releases its whenever they release a feature that allows you to use basically bigger prompts. So if you will, I can share the screen again and I'll show you how we make multiple calls inside of our Google Sheet. So here you can see here we have multiple, right? We have this will be the first call for our Google Bard. This will be the second call. This will be the third call. So we can do that again. We'll just do Bard. We'll select this prompt. We'll click on enter and we get an answer here. I'll do the same for this. I'll make 2 more calls again. Oops. I'll make 2 more calls again and it gives me the response immediately. So you can make multiple, you are allowed to make multiple calls because basically if you are accessing Google Bard from just going to bard.google.com, it would be the same, right? You would send it 100 prompts. It won't say no to you. It's the same thing when I'm integrating this inside of my Google Sheet. Okay, let's see the other questions that are there. What are the privacy and ethical considerations when using Gen AI in management, especially in tasks involving sensitive data? That's a good question. Uh, I'm not that aware of how much it will affect your sensitive data, but I would highly recommend you to not maybe use sensitive data when you're working with this. Even while I work with Google Bar on actual projects that I'm submitting in maybe a college event or a hackathon or something like that, I wouldn't risk using sensitive data that I have of like maybe some personal data. I wouldn't recommend you to actually go in and put your sensitive data. There is a certain level of security that the API and Google Bard has, but I wouldn't recommend you to use your sensitive data there. Hope that answers your question. Thanks, but I meant the multiple type of calls, like the first call for answer, another for translate. Of course, you can make different calls. You just have to tweak and change the prompt that you are sending in. You can send different types of prompts. You can send different data in the prompt. You can expect a different response from the prompt from the Google Bard when you design your prompt. So it basically depends on how you build your prompt and where you are sending it. So that's how you could change your answer and how that's how you can make multiple calls. How can we start in AI as a beginner, especially if you're aiming to? Okay, I'm not an AI expert myself. I have also just started learning AI. I myself am not an AI expert. I just stumbled upon these things a while, maybe I think 4 or 5 months back, and I've just built up on this. So I'm not actually an AI expert, but I guess build projects, learn something new because AI is going to be taking some things to a different level. So I guess just upskill yourself every now and then. That's all I have because I'm not an AI expert. That's why. How to become a GDE? Okay. I've received this particular question multiple times. How to become a GDE is basically make yourself, at least these are the steps I followed while I was applying or while I aimed to be a GDE at some point. It's basically constantly have a community where you share topics with or share blogs, videos, resources, courses with. You just need to be a little community. You need to be in the community. You need to teach people, interact with people, and talk about Google technologies. Like I am a GDE workspace. I'm a GDE for Workspace. So basically, I spent 3.5 years almost creating content around Google Workspace, building automation bots in that, building business solutions in Workspace. So you need to make yourself visible for the right technologies that you know that are kind of related to Google. So Google might have Kotlin, you have Android, you have cloud, you have machine learning. So there are different Google technologies that you can be a GDE in. So that's I think the roadmap that I used to become a GDE myself. Can we use Google Bard in Google Sheets to tally accounts, like speaking in the perspective of CA or economic professional? So basically, you could use Google Bard in anything. See, if you, because what I'm trying to show through this demo is how you can use Google Bard inside of your Google Sheets. So if you have data in your Google Sheets like that we just did right now, you just have to design a specific prompt and then expect an answer according to what you are doing. So I think you need to just work with the prompt and how you want to design the prompt and what kind of response do you want. So as I mentioned in while I was walking you guys through the code, I basically talked about how I spent so much time designing the prompt to get an accurate answer, because if you type the same prompt or maybe a different prompt, you would get a different response. So everything depends on the prompt that you design while you're passing it into Google Bard. Hope that answers your question. Do Medium blogs suffice for creating online presence? I basically did Medium blogs. I did a lot of YouTube videos. I built a lot of courses here and there. So I think that would just create an online presence. But at least this is what I would say. GDE isn't the last title that you want in your career. It is just another stepping stone. So I wouldn't, if you're actually interested in the field, you would want to just focus on the work instead of just getting a title somewhere, XYZ title that you get. I would suggest you focus on the actual tasks. Even when I started, I hadn't planned of becoming a GD. I just stumbled upon it, but I had a goal of creating content because I had an interest in the field of workspace and how you can build stuff there. So that's why so my main focus was do this, to create content, to teach people how to do this, do that. So I did a lot of public speaking, I did a lot of writing, video creation, and courses. So I think that made me visible on the net and people liked it. So yeah, hope that helps you out.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Aryan.
Yeah.
Thank
Hi.
you so much for the wonderful session. But like before logging out, I am just taking this opportunity to ask you one question related to
Of
generative
course.
AI, for
Yeah.
myself also and for the audience also. Like currently,
Okay.
like I am experienced Android developer. So if I want to learn generative AI, if I
Hmm.
talk that in terms of mobile development, from where should I can learn? Because I am very new to AI and ML and all those things because I'm native
Correct.
and developer. So what will be
Yeah.
like a roadmap for myself or any other developer, either he or she is experienced one or new one. So
Hmm.
can yeah
Hmm.
give the roadmap for that.
So I'll make that point once again clear. I'm not an AI expert. I'm still learning myself.
Yeah.
My suggestion just would be to access the right resources that you have. Google has an abundant number of resources from where you can learn ML techniques, you can learn AI, you can learn Gen AI and how they use the Palm API. Everything is available on the net. So you just have to have that fire to go and catch those right YouTube tutorials. And Google AI's Twitter page, LinkedIn page constantly uploads new videos, and if you use a specific hashtag that we have been using, is called make a sweet sprint. if you go to that specific hashtag, you will find multiple articles where you have Android developers like you, especially, or even Workspace developers like me, who constantly uh, write blogs, create videos on explaining how you can use the Palm API in your apps. Maybe if it's for a GDE works for a Workspace GDE like me, it would be creating web apps. If it's an Android developer like you, it would be how to integrate that into your apps. So you can, there are a lot of resources that are there on the internet. Specifically, I would suggest you to check out Google's documentation that is there. I could just share the link in the chat if that is there. I'll just share the link. You could just fetch the link that I have here. So I'm gonna just join the chat, or okay. Okay, I have sent the link over to you. So if you could share that link with everybody. These are the live docs that are there that is given by Google for generative AI. You can learn about Vertex AI and different tools that Google actually provides and how you can figure that out from there. So that would be really helpful for people just starting out with it.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So I think so. You have already given the answers of all the questions in the comment box. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for this wonderful session. I hope so that
Thank you
our
so much.
audience learned up so much from you for generative AI and Google Palm APIs. And we are so grateful that you are here with us for this wonderful session. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Aryan.
you. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending the session. And thank you to GDG Chandigarh for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. Right.